Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
We commence the proceedings with our signature segment, Say What, where we roll out a virtual assembly line of wacky, astonishing, damnable, and ultimately revealing things uttered by politicians and the chattering class. There's a word or hyphenated word that immediately comes to mind when thinking about the state of the Democratic Party circa February 2020. The word is self-immolation, which means setting yourself on fire. How have the Democrats done this? Well, let us count the ways. First, as we prepare to put impeachment in the rearview mirror, listen to the logic of the Pied Piper of impeachment, Adam Schiff, saying Trump is so evil and so intent on cheating, that's their word of the week, in the next election, like he did in the last one, that Americans shouldn't even be allowed to vote for him this year.
The president's misconduct cannot be decided at the ballot box, for we cannot be assured that the vote will be fairly won.
This, as Democrats prepare to absorb stinging allegations from the Attorney General about them using intelligence assets and foreign agents to interfere and spy on the 2016 Trump campaign. Breathtaking hypocrisy. They said Trump's request of the Ukrainian president to investigate blatant self-dealing and corruption by Obama's Vice President Joe Biden is entirely illegitimate. But Trump lawyer Pam Bondi put that one to rest.
When the House managers gave you their presentation, when they submitted their brief, they repeatedly referenced Hunter Biden and Burisma. They spoke to you for over 21 hours, and they referenced Biden or Burisma over 400 times. They said there was nothing to see. It was a sham. Multiple House Democrat witnesses, including those from the Department of State, the National Security Council, and others, unanimously testified there was a potential appearance of a conflict of interest. How much money did Hunter Biden get for being on the board? Burisma paid more than $3.1 million to Devon Archer and Hunter Biden. That's over the course of a year and a half.
If Joe Biden thinks just because the elite media is remarkably incurious or dismissive of $3.5 million paid to the entirely uncredentialed Hunter Biden while his father held the second highest office in the land, he is in for a rude awakening if he somehow survives the primary gauntlet and faces Trump in November. Inherent in the articles of impeachment the House passed and sent to the Senate is the notion that Trump has somehow endangered Ukraine by withholding military aid for a couple of weeks. But Trump lawyer Michael Purpura put that one to rest as well.
One of the few things that all of the witnesses agreed on was that President Trump has strengthened the relationship between the U.S. and Ukraine, and that he has been a more stalwart friend to Ukraine and a more fierce opponent of Russian aggression than President Obama. The House managers repeatedly claimed that President Trump doesn't care about Ukraine. They are attributing views to President Trump that are contrary to his actions.
Trump held up lethal aid for 2 weeks, Obama for 8 years. And as the Senate impeachment trial forced 3 of the top 5 Democratic presidential candidates off the trail to sit through the trial, the best Elizabeth Warren could think to do for publicity was to submit a question to the presiding Chief Justice, which, wait for it, insults the Chief Justice.
Senator from Massachusetts.
Mr. Chief Justice, I send a question to the desk.
Thank you. At a time when large majorities of Americans have lost faith in government, does the fact that the Chief Justice is presiding over an impeachment trial in which Republican senators have thus far refused to allow witnesses or evidence contribute to the loss of legitimacy of the Chief Justice, the Supreme Court, and the Constitution?
Translation: I'm not going to like the verdict, so I'm going to go ahead and trash the presiding Chief Justice and the entire institution of the Supreme Court. There you go. Democrats 2020. So who did the Democrats rely on to try and dig them out of the hole they've been digging deeper and deeper for themselves? Well, first, there was John Bolton, angry ex-employee of Trump who supposedly says Trump wanted to tie military aid to Ukraine, getting the left all excited for 2 or 3 days, but then, whoops, they found a video of Bolton before he was trying to sell books saying the opposite.
I will be meeting President Zelensky. He and President Trump have already spoken twice. President called to congratulate President Zelensky on his election and then on his success in the parliamentary election. They were very warm and cordial calls. We're hoping that they'll be able to meet in Warsaw and have a few minutes together because the success of Ukraine, maintaining its freedom, its system of representative government, a free market economy free of corruption, and dealing with the problems of the Donbass and the Crimea are high priorities here, obviously, but high priorities for the United States as well.
That's a problem. And that video just accelerated the end of things for the Democrats, but not before they tried to cling to another guy, Lev Parnas, fixer for the fixer Rudy Giuliani, now under indictment and evidently looking to limit the damage with new revelations, suddenly changing his testimony, ready to spill the beans on Trump and his gang. Now, to give you an idea of what this guy the Democrats were all excited about is like, listen to Lev Parnas answering a reporter's question.
Mr. Parnas, what you have to share, is that going to be enough to change the minds of 67 senators? If you can say it closer, please.
I mean, I don't know. Some of these, like I said, the Trump world is like a cult, and a lot of these senators are in the cult, so I don't know.
Republican senators are in a cult of Trump. That's the guy Democrats thought was going to, like so many others before him, bring down Donald Trump. But with impeachment fading into the rearview mirror, the Democrats now have to look in the mirror themselves and face what they've wrought, starting with the reality that even rank-and-file Democrats hardly cared about impeachment, as former Obama chief strategist David Axelrod revealed on CNN.
I was in a focus group this morning for the Institute of Politics here at the University of Chicago with some Chicago Democratic voters, and it was chilling to hear them talk about this because impeachment didn't even come up. No one volunteered it for 80 minutes into the focus group, and you know, we're right in the middle of the trial.
But as if the spectacular blow-up of their impeachment effort hasn't been damaging enough, it seems the Democratic National Committee may now have started a civil war in the party by naming aging party hacks from the disastrous Hillary Clinton campaign like John Podesta and Barney Frank to their powerful Convention Rules Committee, infuriating the Sanders campaign, which fell victim to the DNC tipping the 2016 nomination to Hillary. Sanders campaign co-chair Nina Turner said on the podcast Status Quo that this will not stand.
It is an embarrassment. The DNC should be ashamed of itself because it really is a slap in the face to folks who were asking for reform. And let me just say this, that if the DNC believes that it is going to get away in 2020 with what it did in 2016, it has another thing coming.
And if you've heard what some Sanders campaign staffers said in undercover footage from Project Veritas the last couple of weeks, promises of starting riots, re-education camps, gulags, abolishing Congress, the threats of violence from the far left do not appear to be empty. We close with one more manifestation of the Democrats' self-immolation on CNN, of course. A holy trinity of Trump haters. Don Lemon from the broadcast media, Wajat Ali of the New York Times from the print media, and Never Trump Republican Rick Wilson slandering those stupid hicks who voted for Trump.
Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading, your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
All those lines on the map.
Boomer Rube demographic. That, my friends, is exactly what the left thinks of people who voted for Trump. Rest assured, the president's campaign will make maximum use of that most revealing footage.